Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to SlopeClub. Time for another album discussion. Yeah, it's your boy. I'm back, and I'm here with Josh, Jimmy, and RJ. What's up, fellas?
Yo.
Well, I'm glad that we could all be here to record this video about
Oh man.
theirs, dude.
Damn, that's right.
Cue the intro.
There's that is the idol group we're talking about today, and the album is called Bricks. But yeah, there's they're already disbanded. They disbanded early 2019.
Yes.
Yeah, we're opening up the floodgates, huh?
Yeah.
To the plethora of idol groups that have disbanded since we've started doing these.
There's was they were actually a revival group of another idol group called BELLRIng Shoujo Heart, which was formed 2012, but then they disbanded 2016. But then theirs came back 2017 with some of the former members from BELLRIng Shoujo Heart.
I don't know if you guys know this about the theirs, but they were like crow-like feathers. It actually looks really cool in performance. Like I saw them in Japan before I really knew about them. Like that was my first exposure to them. And then the first thing I noticed was their outfits.
There were 6 members at their largest, but then the final lineup before they actually disbanded was 4. But Bricks was their only release album. Bricks was released December 2018, and it included all 4 of their single releases from when they were formed up until their disbanded.
It's the only album they needed, dude. It was 17 tracks long.
Yeah, it's a long one.
The longest one we've
it's
done on this show, on this series of videos, right?
So we got some like alternative rock, indie rock, some post-punk, psychedelic sounds here and there, some grunge, and even a little bit of electronic elements with that rock in there.
Ticking all the rock boxes they could. I mean, they had 17 songs, so I mean.
What'd you guys think of Bricks? I know it's a long one, guys.
Who wants to start?
I think Josh is the one that wants to talk about them the most. I feel like you've seen them live, Josh.
Yeah, let Josh go first. This was his album that he brought up.
I saw them once, didn't know who they were, and then like months after I saw them, I was like, oh, let me look them up, and I heard their music, and immediately liked it. I'm not usually one to go towards this kind of music, but for some reason it just struck a chord with me.
Like rock music in general?
Like I like listening to rock music and everything. Like I listened to it like when I was in college or like in high school. But for some reason this one really like, I don't know, compared to all the other stuff that I listened to before, this one like really differentiated it from everything else.
That's interesting because I felt like they went for a specific like side of rock. We talked about like Bish and Baby Metal before, right? And those two are very different from this.
And I mean, I like Bish too, and I like Baby Metal, so it's like this is just like a different turn in it.
I described this to the other guys earlier before while we were waiting for Josh, but there's a TikTok. It's about a guy who's
dating this video.
His little brother wants a PS4, so he's like, "All right, I'm gonna go buy some milk," but he comes home with a PS4 box, and when the little brother opens up the box, it's a carton of milk inside.
What?
Are you the little brother, Jimmy?
I was the little brother.
We're the little brother. Josh is the older brother in this situation, and the 3 of us are the little brother.
To be fair, I think I got it a little bit hyped up. I got a little excited because Mr. Box was like, "Yeah, I really like this album," and so I was like, "Okay, I'm curious to see what Mr. Box likes." And then the first song, what is it? Primitive Drain. It's like very kind of like industrial rock kind of sounding, right? It's very like, I don't know, very atmospheric. And so I was like, oh, okay. That was me getting the PS4 box, right? I was like, oh, all right.
He hasn't opened it.
Because let's stay on Primitive Drain for a second. I think it's pretty cool actually. It's a nice, interesting mix of like the genres to come.
Me too.
I guess you could say. I can picture like a really cool like choreo intro that they just come out and do a little dance while this plays and shit.
Yeah.
Getting you primed up for the awesome feathery show that is theirs.
PS4 in the box. Ooh.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, oh yeah, this is like, you know, the trailer you watched, the graphics. You're like, oh yeah, dude.
I felt the same way. I thought it was a pretty cool intro to the album. It has some cool ideas. Has a little bit of like, it gets some quirky segments in there too. So I was like, yeah.
Yeah, because it goes from like a dark tone to like a carnival tone. Even has like a little guitar solo in there. For me, I feel like this is like the title screen.
It's a strong intro to an album, that's for sure. Like, I think like as far as like album planning, it's like really good, right? Because like I think that's one of my personal pet peeves is like when an album doesn't really take you on a journey anywhere. Like it doesn't feel like there was any consideration in what the order of the song was. Like the like the 48 groups and 46 groups kind of do this. I don't really like it where they just order it chronologically. Like musically, it doesn't really do anything for you, right? Like the tones could be all over the place. Where I feel like with this, they definitely put a lot into consideration. You can especially hear that with the opening song, "Primitive Drain." But I guess if we're gonna continue this this TikTok analogy, you're gonna be wondering.
I don't like that analogy. I don't like the tone of it. But keep on going.
You're not gonna enjoy this recording, Josh.
All right, Jimmy. What happens when you open the box?
Yeah, the vocals come in, and I'm like, it's milk. I thought I was getting PS4, but I'm getting milk. To be fair, okay, let me explain. I'm actually kind of a big fan of when a lot of these sounds mix with idol vocals. So that's not my issue here. I just think that it needs a lot of polishing, like vocal ability wise. Like sometimes like the members will sing and I'll just be like, whoa, and then they like the mixing doesn't really do anything to help cover that up. And especially where I feel like the instrumentals have such really good polish, that kind of like dissonance really kind of hit me when I was
It's like the outlier, like it sticks out because the instruments are so good.
Yeah.
I have a note here that says that everything about this album, to me, really, just screams Chica Idol. Like, everything about it, to me, just seems like really independent or underground. Like, it feels like the production itself, like the vocals, everything, it just seems like, yeah, like a guy was like, oh, yeah, you guys, I can make you an album, and then it's like a dude in a garage, not really knowing what he's doing.
Really, I wouldn't say that. I would say like because the instrumentals sound really good.
Well, so like the instrumentals are pretty good, but like you said, the mixing is off, and the mixing's off on the instrumentals too. Like it's just that the instrumentals are good as opposed to the vocals.
Yeah.
So I think the mixing is off altogether. It's just that the instrumentals still just sound better because the raw talent, I guess you could say, you know, if you get what I'm trying to say, behind them is still very good, as opposed to the vocals, which do need a lot of work and need a lot of polish themselves.
Yeah.
So then the mixing of them all together doesn't quite work, like Jimmy's saying. And yeah, so for me, it's kind of the same. Like the vocals, like I might be like digging the song, like, oh yeah, dude, this instrumental is really cool. It's a cool rock song. And then the girl starts singing, and I'm like, oh, but wait. It almost on a good number of the songs, honestly, it actually kind of turns me off from the songs. It's just like, I don't know. Whereas if they had competent vocalists, or if it was like a band per se, like I'd be more into it.
See, this because it's kind of like it's a rock album. Let's be clear, right? It's an idol rock album. So this might be a controversial opinion for rock. When I was listening through it, I was like, just give them a little auto-tune, dude. It's fine. Because
in the end, they're idols still.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Like if it was a band, I would be like, yo, why has Chester Bennington got auto-tune on? But for an idol album, I'm gonna be like, oh, give the girl some auto-tune, man. Like, you hear her struggling.
and especially like let's be fair, when they're performing these songs, they're not like stationary like you would be in a band, right? It's not a lead singer maybe walking around. They're dancing. You know, even so outside of it, like in a live performance, it's not going to be perfect, right? But why it works in a live performance setting, I feel, and this is why I was like, I could tell you watched them live, because that kind of like, I think
the energy or
yeah, because the overall stage energy and like
the atmosphere, being there, all that mixes in to how you perceive the group.
and it doesn't have to be perfect when you're listening to things live, right? Because things aren't perfect, right? Whereas like when you're listening to a studio version,
they had time.
The instrumentals are so, in my opinion, so clean that it doesn't make sense for them to be off, right? Because a lot of punk rock bands, the vocals are characteristically off, right? They're like
Yeah.
they're singing,
Right.
they're just a little bit flat here and there, and that's like, but that's part of the vibe. But then when like the instrumentals are grungy and things like that, which you get in a couple of these songs, it works, right? But then when you get other songs where it's a little bit more, I feel like very clean sounding and very put together, and then the vocals are a bit off. It like to me was like, whoa, what's going on, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel bad because we're dumping on this. So let's talk about some things we liked, huh? Josh is sitting here just like,
I'm just sitting here, just taking it all in. Okay.
Well, Josh likes the whole thing, I assume. So.
Well, I mean, what's your favorite song off the album? Then there's a lot of tracks here.
I think my favorite is Tsunaki.
Snacky, that's a good one.
I think I like the build up with the steadiness, and then like I like that it's like a wave. It's like it goes up and down, and the chorus is like all the energy, and even like the little breaks. I feel like the structure of the song really gives emphasis to like the chorus, especially with all the instrumental breaks it has, and even the instruments themselves like kind of help with the vocals in there. Like it kind of goes with the vocals if you notice, and then there's also strings in the song, and I enjoy the strings.
Which I always like a good string.
I think that's one of the better tracks off the album. I kind of like that post-punk style that it has. It's a little bit progressive too, and yeah, Josh mentioned the strings that come in the chorus. And like in this track, their vocals go with the instrumentation a little bit better than most of the others.
you get kind of that push pull Josh was talking. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, the dun dun dun, and then like the guitars kind of like help push that out, where it's like, yeah, it's got that little like pushing on the gas.
I also like the guitar work. It sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really like the guitar on this one.
Yeah, me too. It's very bright.
Overall, the song doesn't really stand out to me as much, but I do really like the guitar. I actually felt it felt like a shonen anime OP that you skip a bunch of times, but you do like you listen.
I know that one.
Like, yeah, you're like, oh yeah, this one has that cool guitar, and you're like, all right, let me get to the show. The guitar is sick on it. I'll give it that.
I actually like what's that? Pelican. That's the second track of the.
Yeah, I like Pelican a lot actually.
It has that really strong like fuzzy bass line that's very post punk style.
It's got a cool garagey vibe to it. And then yeah, like you said, the bass. And one thing I noticed for the whole album, I mean, we've already said the instrumentals on this album shine, but the bass on this, like almost every song on this, even if I didn't like the song, I would listen to it like, yo, this bass though is going hard.
And a lot of the songs where it's like, there's not any that really stands out to me, but there's usually like a bass line there that's.
Most of my notes, it says this bass though, or like, oh, this bass is really cool, or like, oh, nice bass.
Yeah, it's always nice, especially in whereas idol music tends to be very pop focused, where the bass just kind of is just like droning the chords, right? Like the root note of each chord. It's like doom 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 doom. It gets really repetitive, but I think that's one of the things that makes the instrumentals so enjoyable for me. It's just like there's a lot of different textures.
Yeah. But yeah, I do like the vibe of the song. It's a little bit darker, but it's cool. It's cool.
The big thing for me in this album is like the feel for the songs. Like there's a lot of like dark and like almost depressing sounding songs, and then like it's a mix of experimental with like human noises of people yelling in the background. It's just like that sort of feel that I really get into with the atmosphere that I enjoyed about this album.
Yeah, when you bring that up, one that comes to mind is There's Something Behind, which I think was one of their singles. Very like dramatic and like very atmospheric, has that like almost Neil Diamond-y like theatrical goth rock sound to it.
Yeah. He has a more like artful approach than all the other tracks. So yeah, it's a completely different vibe. It's like more piano driven, right? Whereas like a bunch of the other ones are very like rock.
The staccato strings, right? It really kind of like adds to the there's something behind feel, right? That dun, 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 dun.
Like I felt like this was almost like you could almost put this into like some kind of like stage musical kind of thing.
Yeah, I get that vibe. Yeah, for sure.
As a like a suspenseful kind of thing. So it has really good atmosphere for sure.
And I think it keeps you really tense throughout the track. Like you think it's about to like go into like a chorus or into something exciting, and then it just drops down to the instruments and then starts building more on that intensity until like 3/4 of the song when the guitar starts coming in. And then at the end, it's like you see all this intense energy, drops down. This is where we started, which I like about it.
Yeah, that's. I felt like that was one of the better ones, um, just because of like how different it is.
I was gonna throw out. Everyone's talking about all these dark songs. Uh, I really liked Sunrise, Sunset.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, that's my favorite song off the album.
Almost like indie rock, emo kind of vibes.
It's got that EDM ish like chill rock vibe kind of going on.
I felt like the album should have ended with this.
I kind of agree with that. Yeah, yeah.
It's a nice cool down.
It's the longest song, right? It's like almost 7 minutes, but it really has like this really open and like driving feel to it, which I really like. It reminded me a lot of like Boom Boom Satellites, but kind of like a
Yeah,
Boom Boom
that's
Satellites.
who I was thinking about. I was like trying to like, who am I thinking of, dude?
You know, like that song they did for the anime Kiznaiver.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Enemy's trash, by the way, but this song slaps.
Okay, let me bring up another one that I like. The one before that, actually, Chrono Messiah.
Okay.
Spacey electronic rock sound. It reminds me of like Avengers and sci-fi or something like that.
Okay.
Like there's certain moments where like it kind of sounds like like when you're watching a movie and there's a club scene. It kind of like reminds me of that a little. There's moments in there.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like it takes place in like space.
I was gonna say I got spy movie vibes. I don't know why.
We're all getting
We're all
different vibes.
coming with
we
different
all got
things.
different vibes from this, but you know, like
All right, I'll tell you what. It's a spy going through the club chasing the villain, and then they
He's an
escape
alien
into a
in space.
ship that goes
The-
up
the-
into space, dude. That's the movie.
Oh, I was gonna say the club is in space, but okay, that works too. But just the way the guitars hit, and then there's like the synth stuff in the background and stuff like that. It gives that kind of like cosmic feel to it, which I liked.
What'd you guys think of Nylon Flamingo?
I thought it was like a little bit chill, but still like chilly, like you feel like cold in your spine a little. I don't know. For me, it's like
Okay.
more of a slower tempo, but still like has like a little eerie feeling to it. Like something's a little off about it.
Yeah.
Conceptually, I agree with you, but execution was very hard for me.
Yeah, like I felt like it had an interesting atmosphere, but like the vocals were really weak.
Yeah, because I feel like that's one of the more vocally focused songs.
I thought it had a cool like almost like the English beat / like the British invasion, kind of like late 70s, early 80s stuff.
Oh yeah.
It had more of that kind of vibe. So I was kind of digging it, even though it is like more of a vocal focused song. The instrumental on it, even though it's more subtle, like I think is like really nicely done. And if it was more in the forefront, I think it would be better. But I thought this was when I was still high hopes, because it's in the early part of the album too.
I was
still,
about to say the same thing. At this point in the song, this album, I was like, maybe this is like an experimental sound thing that I'm just not getting.
yeah, because it has like a more experimental like synth rocky kind of thing going on.
But I feel like that wasn't the only track where they tried that, right? Like Hakuchumu does that too, and it's like kind of similar in the way that like the instrumentation is kind of stripped down, but then the vocals just don't deliver like it should.
I felt like Hakuchumu was very similar to something like Book Girl would do.
Okay.
Yeah, with all the stops and everything, right?
Yeah, with that experimental vein, and like there's like a lot of like talk singing on the album, on the song and stuff. So
I do like when the instrumentation picks up a little bit though, like towards the end.
But what about the bass line though?
Bass is cool. We had some slapping, you know.
Yeah, dude.
yeah, the bass is nice.
MVP of this album, dude.
The bass.
The bassist.
So my favorite song on the album was Ikenie, which I liked because I felt it had like a lot of the, I don't want to say classic Japanese rock, but a lot of Japanese rock influence. Like I felt very heavy Bees, the B classic Japanese rock band Bees, and just kind of it had a sound that I just kind of equate to like Japanese rock in general, like general Japanese rock, and I liked it a lot. The chorus worked really well for me. The guitar is just like chugging hard,
Extra crunchy.
yeah, which is probably why it reminded me of Bees so much because Tak Matsumoto, dude. And to me, this was my favorite. So, and I think it worked well on all fronts. I won't even shit on the vocals on this one. Everything just kind of worked well together.
The guitars were what caught me in this one.
There's even some intense, solos and shit. So
I would be remiss to talk about the guitars and not to bring up Dignity.
yes.
Yeah, I felt like that took me to some of my like teenager years, dude. Going to like to school with my guitar. Like I could listen to the song and just like imagine myself strapped up with the gig bag because I couldn't afford an actual case, dude.
It's one of the harder songs on the album.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. You get some cool licks, dude. You know what I mean? Yeah, all that stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh.
Right, like some more hard rock style like riffs.
And of course that beefy bass. Dude.
Yeah, I was
Oh
gonna
yeah,
say
dude,
that
that's
too.
what mine says. It says harder rock, still great bass line.
Yeah.
Bass is so good on this album. Oh man, I'm gonna bump my score up just because the bass on this is so good.
I think I enjoyed the verses going into the chorus and then leaving out. I think it was like really like it just worked for me. It felt very natural.
Yeah, I do like the instrumentation, but man, the vocals, man, they aren't doing it for me, man. They weren't doing it for me.
I think this is the first song that I really realized
There's no experiment here. It's just
how bad the vocals were. Yeah.
They're just singing
'Cause
over it.
this is,
There's-
yeah, this is you're looking into the box and you see the top of the cap. You're like,
This is
what?
a
No, like the
PS4.
thing, like they didn't even try to like stylize to try to fit this genre, right? Or to try to fit this sound. They're just like singing over it.
And I also feel like you hear Pelican, you hear Nylon Flamingo, both kind of not want to say experimental, but
It's more contemporary, right? It's more contemporary rock.
yeah. And then you get to Dignity, and it's more just like, oh, this is not like the previous two songs.
Right? I felt like that needed a little bit more power.
Especially with like the classic rock kind of drivey guitar.
You know, if you think of like those older bands that do like hard rock or whatever, like dude's got like big hair and like
Driving their Chevy Nova down the road.
if they did like
The
an
old route.
idol equivalent of that vocal style, maybe, I mean, I would have been down with it, but yeah, they just kind of sang over it. So
Some Kansas or some Van Halen or something, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious to see what you guys think about Upstairs Down, because this kind of goes from like creepy to country. There's a banjo in there.
Yeah, the weird banjo thing that just comes in. I'm like,
it sounded interesting.
well, because it opens with the banjo thing, and then it gets creepy, and then you're like, oh, okay, and then the banjo comes back, and you're like, I don't know
It's
anymore,
too
guys.
experimental for me. I'm gonna say that right now.
Some weird psychedelic vibes in there.
See, okay, I'm just gonna be honest. This is probably one of my least favorite songs, but I feel like it is one of the most well executed because they had an idea and then they went and did it.
It's that Reverend Horton Heat shit, dude, where you're just like fucking psychobilly shit.
Right? I mean, I thought the acoustic instrumentation was interesting.
There's some interesting choices on this track for
It's
sure.
interesting, but I mean, like, it's not my favorite, It's
Interesting doesn't always mean good.
Yeah, it's. I know I probably use this word way too much on these album reviews, but it's not a really listenable song. This is not one I would just put up to like, all right, dude, I'm gonna go for a drive or go for a jog.
It's like you hear it once and you're like, oh, okay, and then you're just like, I don't really need to hear it again.
But yeah, it's interesting.
Do you like the song, Josh?
I do like the song. I like how experimental it is. I like how they play around with the vocals as like an experimental tone and kind of go with the weird vibe that is the country to creepy vibe.
All right, yeah. To each his own. That's why we have these discussions.
Yeah, which is the whole thing with the whole album. It's kind of like a little bit experimental at times. And sometimes it's creepy, but then sometimes it like changes your expectation, which is something that I think is like a little bit like artistic, makes you talk about it and everything. Like brings up discussion, which I enjoy about it.
We are discussing it, that's for sure.
Drinking some milk with my friends.
At this point, it's like you got the milk, right? And you're resigned to the fact that you got a jug of milk. So you go to pour yourself a glass, but the milk is spoiled.
Oh,
Damn, dude.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've had that joke since Jimmy made the milk reference, and I've just been
All
waiting
right,
for
Josh,
it.
what is the worst track on this album? What is your least favorite?
It might be the last one.
The last one's not good. The last one to me isn't bad, it's just forgettable.
It's kind of, yeah, it has that like dark and grungy tone, but
Especially after Sunrise Sunset, or which we've all agreed it should just ended on. Then you put this random ass song at the end that's just forgettable. You're like, man, you just like.
Yeah, you end on this like high, right? It's like, oh man, so hopeful now after all that dark, kind of more.
Yeah, it really takes you out of it.
I can see it as them like wanting to bring back the creepy vibe of like reminding you of what the album was, but I feel like it's not the strongest one because I kind of feels like it makes you want like it feels like just kind of mundane a little bit.
Well, my least favorite is Jukai.
I will second that notion.
Third.
You want to know what my note next to Jukai says? It just says garbage.
Damn. I was not a fan. They just kind of it sounded like they phoned it in on the vocals, which I mean, I already made multiple comments on their vocal performance, but like, holy shit, dude.
It's really bad.
I did put the bass parts are cool.
I was digging the synth line. There's a little synth line that's in there that's for like 2 seconds. I was digging that, but other than that,
it almost feels like when they were in the recording studio that the backing track that they were given to sing along to was like a semitone flat, dude.
it was a completely different song.
Yeah, because it like kind of consistently sits there, you know, where it's just like, oh, can you guys just, you know, like just that much up, please. Just to me, the song had just a lot that I didn't like, and not enough things I like to kind of help motivate me through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if there was like interesting guitar lines and stuff like that, we already know the bass was fine. We'll give them a pass here. But yeah, you know, like maybe some percussions or something to kind of help me kind of like get through this. But it's kind of a stripped down song with a lot of vocals. And boy.
Yes.
I think one of the redeeming things from this is the little tones they have in there. Like they have little spacey tones, little sounds of tambourine. They have like little hidden tones in there that like you have to listen out for.
Oh yeah, I mean I hear them. I just wish there was more of them.
I'm trying not to listen that closely to this song, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was not my favorite.
Then what about Soil? I feel like Soil is like I'm whatever on Soil. It kind of has like marionette moments in there with like a steady rock kind of vibe to it. Like I think I enjoyed the first half more than the second half for sure.
Yeah, a little bit more of like I guess sounds more psychedelic too, right? It's
Maybe I just like the psychedelic vibe. Maybe that's what it is.
That's totally fine, dude. Because I was gonna say the opposite. I think I much preferred the second half of the song than I did the first half.
right. It has this like meandering kind of feel to it. It's just kind of like, it's kind of interesting.
Well, that's our Josh box. I was looking for the avant-garde shit, dude. Where I'm like, no, please give me something comfortable. Give me something that I know and I like. Josh is trying to push envelopes here. I'm trying to maintain this status quo.
Hey, we're talking all idols, Jimmy. Come on, man.
Why do you think I do a podcast about the mainstream?
We got a few more to go. There's Stop.
I really enjoy Stop, actually.
Right, it kind of leans towards
That
more
new wave,
like,
that new wave vibe.
Yeah, it's also a little bit more idly, right? It's like kind of happier.
I put down that the vocals actually work well on this song, and it's probably because it's more of a poppy idol song. Yeah, so their vocals work better for it. But I really like the new wave kind of the
like
synth
with the
style
synths,
to it.
right? It's this, yeah.
It's a little repetitive, but I'm pretty into it. I'll say I actually really enjoy Stop.
I like the drums in this song. If you guys like listen to the drums, I think they go off for sure.
Yeah, and what's that? What else is Radical Head got a more like upbeat rock and roll
Kind of fun
style.
punk song, yeah.
It's got slide guitar, so that's cool with me.
Sounds like something I'd play like on Guitar Hero 2, like the guitar on it.
This is one of the songs I was thinking of when I was talking about how if they had like a little bit more of like a grungy, punky kind of instrumentals, that the vocals being off would work better. But yeah, I mean, but because of that, it does kind of tend to be forgettable for me. Like not bad by any means. I would say it's one of the more listenable ones. I could put this on and casually listen to it a little bit better.
Yeah, I could hear that too.
It's not as like artful as some of the others. So,
but hey, maybe that's what I like.
what else is there?
Burnable garbage, I guess.
Oof, let's not talk about that.
some decent sounding riffs.
I didn't dislike it that much. I just wish it was a little bit more cohesive.
Yeah, to me, I just didn't really.
I think it was just the guitars really stuck out, right?
Yeah, it was just that, and then.
I just feel like there's too many different parts to this song.
But that's the whole album, right? There's like different parts to all the song.
That's fair.
Sigh. It's sigh.
And that's all the songs, right?
Oof, 17.
Then shall we get into the scores? I'll go last since I know my score will be very different from everyone else's.
Yeah.
Josh is trying to bring up this average, dude. He's doing his best.
There's Bricks. I gave it a 5. There are some interesting sounds, but like there's a lot of uninteresting stuff too, I felt. And then like to me the main thing, like the vocals really let me down. They were like really bad at times, and so that like I just could not get in to the tracks even if the instrumentation was really good. But I mean, kind of overall I like the darker post-punk feel of the whole album. And then it kind of opens up towards the end with what's it called, Sunrise Sunset, which is my favorite track out of the album. And then they started introducing more electronic elements towards the end, so I enjoy that. But like overall, I just too much of it I found was kind of meh and skippable for like how long it is, like 17 tracks, and I felt like I wanted to skip a lot of it because like it just wasn't grabbing me, or like I didn't find the melodies interesting enough, or like just the vocals really did not get me at all. But there's some like cool ideas, I thought, some interesting sounds like that banjo shit. But I think if they just took like the most interesting parts of it and just like trimmed it down to like a shorter, more compact album, I'd like it more. But yeah, there's a lot of like fluff I felt like that they could have cut out. But yeah, that is my score.
All right, I'll let RG go next since he might have the lowest just from the tone of his voice.
Yeah, I probably do. Just to echo Boy, the instrumentation, and I think we've all said is on point here. Especially the bass. Ooh, bass player, please. It's so good. But yeah, man, the vocals, I just can't get past them. There's a couple songs, and we mentioned them where it does work in their favor. But out of 17 tracks, if only 2 of them the vocals work in your favor, and one of them's an instrumental, it's not gonna be the greatest. And I understand idols don't have to be the best singers, but it's still part of their job. And to kind of refine what we were talking about earlier with the mixing and stuff like that, it's I kind of figured out it's almost like they recorded demos and just decided to release those as opposed to full mastered tracks. And I don't know, like Boy said, there is a lot of interesting sounds, but like I said earlier, interesting isn't always good. But yeah, again, there is just so much skippable stuff, and we keep harkening back to 17. It's a long album. It's almost an hour and 15 minutes long, and for an album that you're not enjoying, that feels longer. So I mean, they could cut at least half these songs and bring it down to a decent album, And I don't know why they broke up. I hope it wasn't because of this. I'm gonna give it a 3.
Even with the bass.
Even with the bass is what brings it up to a 3, my guy. I mean, there are some tracks I do quite enjoy. I really do like Sunrise Sunset. I like Ikenie, Stop. I enjoy. But I feel there's too much negative for me to really go that much higher. I could go a 3.5 if I believed in 0.5 ratings, but
you got to wonder like how much like your audience is gonna like how much are they gonna sit through like a 7, right, like an album that's that length, right? That's kind of nowadays, right, asking a lot of your audience, right? It's like over an hour long to sit down and kind of like,
if you're gonna make your album that long with that many tracks, it has to hit, dude. It has to be banger after banger.
It's not a concept album either, right?
Right.
They put in all their singles into it, so like that's already not.
That's only 4 singles.
Yeah, but it's already not a concept album, right? It doesn't have like
right. Yeah, because all their singles are vastly different.
So actually, I'm also gonna give it a 3.
Damn, I didn't think.
Well, okay, let me explain, because one of the factors that I've always kind of considered when I do these is the, I guess, cultural impact that the album has, right? Like especially when we talked about things like, you know, AKB's Kami Kyoku Tachi or Baby Metal's debut album, right? It's not like a huge thing, but that does help to bump this up, and I feel like this lacks that. Granted, it is from like a smaller group, so I feel kind of bad, but there's nothing really compelling me to tell someone that they need to listen to this. And then it has a lot of negatives based upon my own preferences, and that's why I think that's why it was a big uphill battle for theirs. You know, unfortunately, I think just from my own personal background, one of the first things I always listen to from any is the vocals, and with idols, like RJ mentioned, it's like they don't, you know, like their idols don't have to be great, but I think there's like a certain level that I need it to kind of be at before I can like actually kind of like enjoy all the ideas that they're trying to bring forward. While I do appreciate the stuff that they were going for and the stuff that the sounds that they were trying, I just didn't find a lot of them to be very listenable. You know, it wasn't something that I would throw on again. Like, you know, like usually when we do these, I have a couple songs that like, or not a couple, I have a number of songs that I would actually, okay, I need to throw this into my rotation more again. I kind of really miss these songs. I think there's maybe like 2 on here that I would actually continue to listen to. Whereas like, yeah, I felt like if I wasn't recording a video, I would have very little motivation to finish this album on my own. That's why I'm going to be giving it a 3 from me, Chief. All right, Josh, save the average. Save the average, Josh.
All right, and that's why we have these discussions, you know, because everyone has different opinions, you know, everyone has different feelings towards it. And I gave mine a 9 out of 10.
Wow, you really like this.
Oh my God.
Now, the reason, I will admit the vocals are not strong, but I think that adds to it, to the experimentalness of it. Because I think, like, when I first heard this, like, I haven't heard anything like this. And I thought just the psycho...
Like the psychedelic.
Yeah, the psychedelic effect to it with the experimental, with a lot of the songs, like, kind of, like, making it more tense or, like, there's creepy vibes to it. I think all that just really adds to the atmosphere. And I think this album is, for me at least, very atmospheric in that sense. Because unlike Jimmy, I don't listen first to the vocals. First I listen to instruments, and then that just adds bonus to it. So I think that's just like a different mindset that we have.
Yeah.
And I think that with this album, like, really the vocals were just adding to what was already there. On some of the songs, I will admit that it isn't the strongest. But in some of them where it's like, it feels really raw and it's supposed to feel kind of like creepy and unsettling, I think it adds to it, which is kind of why I recommend it if you are more into the experimental, want to hear something new, or maybe you want to hear something that's completely out of your expectation.
Yeah, it's. I think RJ mentioned earlier, right? It's very Chica Idol, and you know that's an appeal, right?
It is. Like, some people, that's all they want to listen to is Chica idols.
You need a little bit of jank, you know. That's how JPop idols are, right?
And, you know, I like that jank.
Yeah, baby.
And it ain't JPop idols if it's not a little janky. So
I think it's important to note with any music discussion, and this applies to all the videos we've done before on album reviews and stuff, but you know, music is a very personal experience.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
yeah.
This is our opinion.
yeah, I don't respect Josh any less for liking this, and I hope he doesn't respect me any less for not liking it. Right. It's just we all got our taste.
What's the total, Jimmy?
So the total is a 5 out of 10.
It's a 5 out of 10. Yeah.
Middle of the road.
Yeah.
So that was our score for the album. Let us know what you think. If you guys listen to the album, make sure you give us a score. Let us know your thoughts, what songs stuck out to you, what songs didn't. And as always, you can always keep up to date with us throughout the week or the month by following us on Twitter or subscribe to us on YouTube so you can always stay up to date with the newest videos that we come out. We've got a lot more of these album reviews planned. Hopefully we can introduce you guys to some cool bands that we like, some new ones, like maybe like some of you haven't heard theirs before, like a lot of us. So yeah, stay tuned to check it out, and we'll see you guys in the next